yes, the Western world isn't perfect, right? But would I rather live in Afghanistan, which is also a Muslim country? They wake up and are Muslim from morning until night. But or would I rather live in a Western country? I would think it's the choice is quickly made, right? Like murders and everything happens in both worlds, and the rapes and all those things, all those bad things that you just mentioned in the Western world actually also happens in Muslim world. So it doesn't mean that because it's a Muslim world it's better. If it would be, my parents wouldn't be here, you know. Like I get that. And I also, the thing that you said, which was really good, that you said that when the child that goes and sees the world sees that the world is too perfect to just be made out of nothing. I agree with that, because I cannot believe that there is no God. Okay, I accept and I know that there is a God, because the world is too perfect to be to not just have existed through a big bang. But how do we know that Prophet Muhammad came with the right religion and just didn't make it up a few years ago? Because I know you say the miracles that he did, but why doesn't give Allah the miracles to our generation? Because we just have to trust someone that did the miracles a long time ago to people that weren't that so smart. Like the people back then, they weren't so smart as they are right now. So if you put a magician there, they are obviously going to think, oh wow, look, he did something, and it could just be science for all we know that he did, and they call it a miracle. But if the same person would do that right now in front of me, I would be like, okay, like this is this and this is that, because I think logically, right? How do we know that he didn't just go and like make everything up just so he can make a religion? How do we know that he is the true prophet of? Because I believe Allah, right? I know that Allah exists. I just have a hard time believing in the hadiths and believing in the prophet. That's my problem, and that's my issue.
Okay, so we're coming again to the same idea of being brainwashed, brushing off the Western lands and saying that, oh, they have some mistakes, but look at the Muslim world, they're doing this, they're doing this. It shows the level of brainwashing that a person has. So if you agreed that like there is problems here and there, then you wouldn't highlight the Muslim lands to begin with, as if they're an exception to the rule. So now what you're doing is you took your first stance. I look at the non-Muslim world is advanced and the Muslim world is not. Now it became, oh, everyone has mistakes. So why did you come in the beginning then and make the claim that, look, oh, the Western lands are advanced? No, they're not advanced. This is the reality. When you look at their behaviors, when you look at their lives, and to claim that the Muslim lands have the same thing is completely false. Most of these Muslim countries that you refer to, even though right now they start having some problems here and there because they've been influenced, like you, they've been influenced by the West. And because they've been influenced by the West, for example, the people influenced by feminism, you see the divorce rates are increasing in some of these lands, but they're still lower. They're much lower still than the West. You don't see kids chopping off their genitals in Muslim lands. You don't see this being preached in the schools. You don't see it everywhere in people walking naked in pride parades. You don't see these things. So you can pretend that this is the same case in Muslim lands, but it is not. It is nowhere near. The importance of family, the importance of obeying God, the fear of stealing. In Qatar today, go to Qatar, you can leave your car open in the middle of the road, no one will touch you. People leave the laptop, they come 3 days later in the restaurant, they take it. 3 days later. Now you show me which Western land, Western country you can do this today. Don't try to compare and pretend, as I said in the beginning, pretend as if everyone has bad things. No, if you look at this idea of the moral ideas that I'm telling you about, the Muslim land is far superior for everything I mentioned. I referred to the idea of feminism, the idea of LGBT, all of these things, the safety, all of these things. The lands that actually implement some of Islam, not even all of Islam. Does that mean that these countries are perfect? Of course not. They're not, but they're not perfect in the parts in which they're not applying Islam. And the problem is that they're having problems is that they're starting to move away from Islam. The problem is that the divorce rates are increasing is because people are being influenced by feminism. So when you say, oh well, if this was not the case, my family wouldn't be here. If you look at what happened to Afghanistan, you call yourself Afghani, but I don't know, you've not seen what the US did to your country. You've not seen those people, why they went to your country to begin with, because of the resources that they had. They went to that country, they tried to force their own things on your country. They're still being kicked out by the Americans. Those so advanced people have the biggest weapons and they've been kicked out like losers by a bunch of people who live in the mountains. That may Allah Azza wa Jal preserve them. Because they have the religion, they have their faith in the Creator, and they know this is the truth. They know those people, they might have some advanced material there from worldly weapons, but when it comes to the Akhirah, they have nothing. They fear death. While we know what is to come after we die. That's the difference between us and them. So your parents might travel and come there. It is because of economic needs has nothing to do with that this land is not good from a moral aspect. Now, and why did they have economic problems? It is because of the same countries that they traveled to. So they traveled to whatever, US or whatever it is, because the US went to their country and destroyed it. It's the only reason that they have bad economy, that they had to travel in the first place. You are leaving the reason why your country has bad economy, which is the West, and then saying, oh, that's why they went to the West. No, they went to the West. They had to go to the West. They had no other options because their countries would be attacked day and night. So clearly, you see the brainwashing now. When I tell you the history and what actually happens in history, you start to realize how brainwashed you are by what these people are telling you, leaving all of the facts that I'm telling you. Now the idea of, look, okay, the miracles Prophet ﷺ did, we have to believe in something that happened in the past. I'm not telling you that. In fact, if you actually follow or watch any of my videos, you'll see I've got many videos on my channel demonstrating the evidences that we can look at today to know that Prophet Muhammad ﷺ is a messenger of God. One example I mentioned is the life of the Prophet ﷺ, looking at his life, investigating his life. Why was he preaching his message? He did not want any worldly things. He did not have any issues from a psychological perspective or any of these issues he demonstrated. If you study his life from a psychological aspect, you will come to the conclusion he had to be from the Creator. That's one example. Another example I give, the prophecies of the future the Prophet ﷺ mentioned that are happening today. We see with our own eyes. What the Prophet ﷺ said will happen. He said you'll see the barefoot Bedouin Arabs competing in building the tallest buildings. We see the tallest building today in Dubai, you know. He said the reasons why. He said the earth will puke its treasures and money will become abundant within the Arabs. This is what we see today. The earth has puked its treasures, which is called oil. And oil was not a treasure until today. It's called the black gold. It was not really a treasure until today because of the advancement we have. Oil has become the treasure that it is. But in the past, it was not like it is viewed today. The Prophet ﷺ, he said the land of the Arabs will come back green. If you open NASA and look, they will show you pictures of how the land of the Arabs was and how it is today. And the Prophet said it will come back. That means it was in the past. You open Nature magazine, they show you 5,000 years used to be meadows and rivers, like the Prophet said. And they show you fossils of animals like whales and this and that, which need massive amount of water to live in that land. So it was not a desert in the past. How would the Prophet ﷺ know that? He didn't have studied fossils or satellite flight to see the 10,000 lakes that exist in the deserts of Arabia. Nor could he access the future or know what will happen. Prophet said the Usurian interest will be widespread. That even Muslims, they're trying to avoid it, they will still be affected by its dust. Now, Usurian interest, by the way, cannot widespread unless you have a paper currency. Because in order for you to have Usurian interest on a massive scale, you need a lot of gold and silver to lend. And gold and silver is limited, so you cannot have it on a massive global scale. The only way you can do that is you can start printing money, and that money becomes the currency. And then you can lend people a lot of money and then have Usurian interest on a wide scale. So when he said that, it was not even possible in his lifetime because they were using gold and silver as a currency. He said in the future it would become like this, global, that no one would be able to avoid it. He can give many examples of that. The Quran talking about the natural world, how the universe is created. For example, the universe being expanding. The Quran referring to natural phenomena, things in the world that we see that no one would even think about at the time. Like the Quran refers to the clouds as heavy. Allah says, وَيُنْشِئُ السَّحَابَ الثِّقَالَ, and He creates the heavy clouds. Anyone who is just making up information from his mind, he looks at the cloud, he says, look, this is very light. It's flying in the air, it looks quite light. No one will call it heavy. Today we know it weighs tons because of the water. Prophet Muhammad, the desert Bedouin Arab who is living in the deserts of Arabia looking at the clouds, he would not know, or he would not call a cloud heavy. What is the reason he would use that reference to the cloud? Talks about the mountains, how they have deep roots within the earth. The mountains stabilize the earth. Now today we know there's something called isostasy. Because mountains, we didn't see that before. We didn't know how mountains are even formed. They're tectonic plates hitting one another, one goes up, one goes down. The biggest part of the mountain is actually down. That's why Allah refers to the mountains as pegs. And it says it stabilizes the earth, because when there is a part of the mountain going down, it pushes the crust of the earth. And when you push the crust, there is less movement and there is less collisions of tectonic plates. Therefore, there is less earthquakes. How would Prophet Muhammad know any of this information, that the mountain stabilizes the earth or it has deep roots or any of this? The Prophet, the Quran speaks about history that was not known. It was not in the Bible. It was not known, written, or any books. For example, like that Pharaoh claimed to be God. This is not in the Bible. Is nowhere else in other scriptures. The Pharaoh at the time of Moses. Today we know that Ramses II, who was the Pharaoh at the time of Moses, claimed to be God. How do we know? We discovered that because now we can read the hieroglyphics through discovering the Rosetta Stone in the 1800s, which were over 1,000 years after the death of the Prophet. We couldn't even read hieroglyphics. We discovered the Rosetta Stone. And now we found in the temple of Abu Simbel in Egypt, we found Ramses II being crowned to be God by Horus and Set. Two Egyptian gods, they're giving him divinity. We found an artifact there and we read this information. How would the Prophet Muhammad do it when they could not even read hieroglyphics at the time? Look, I can, by the way, I can stay now for 2-3 hours giving you evidences for why Islam is the truth. You know, that is the easiest thing I could do. Two